sub-communities. Madam, I did my A-levels and my O-levels in Mombasa, after which I proceeded to do my university education in India. But I did not go to India straight away. I started working, and I got an opportunity with a community scholarship, which was to be paid for subsequently. And that was way back in 1987. So I went to India. I studied political science because law was a postgraduate study in India, after which I did my law degree. After my law degree, I did a master's in law, and I specialized in constitutional law and commercial laws. After my study, I returned back to the country. I joined the Kenya School of Law. I did my pupillage in Mombasa. Came to Nairobi as usual. The procedures were a bit different then. I did my law diploma, post-diploma in law, and I got myself admitted to the bar. I went back to Mombasa, but I rejoined the shipping company where I worked before I went to university as a clerk. I was a shipping clerk, a claims clerk. So I went back to the same establishment. It was then Mitchell Courts. Then it became Surf Marine Container Lines. And I joined up, but in a senior position. Then I was in charge of the legal docket. I was in charge of the claims. And I was also in charge of looking at other parameters of marine insurance, which again prompted me to do a marine insurance course, which I did. It was a 2-year diploma course. I did it, and I generated more competences in it. In my work as a shipping practitioner, I managed to do a lot of claims work. I managed to streamline the departments in claims work. I was able to do manuals and processes regarding claims because the department was not well done for, because claims is seen as the tail end of all shipping matters. I managed to turn it around to ensure that we use claims as a means of marketing, so that when you keep your customers satisfied, you are able to bring more business to the shipping company and your principals. And I had another cap within that office where I specialized in matters of maritime ship insurance, where I was what they call a correspondent, to deal with all urgent matters when a member of the shipping line docks in the port and there is any problem about it. There is a stowaway on board, you have to deal with it. A damaged cargo, you deal with it. If there is an accident between the ship with another ship in the port or with port installations, you have to deal with it. And you deal with matters where every minute counts, and there is a lot of repercussions if there is any delay. So that exposed me to high pressure work and quality work and good planning. And to do that work, you had to collaborate with very many stakeholders, be it the KPA, the port police, clearing and forwarding agents, transporters, marine surveyors of different nature. And it exposed me at that time to stakeholder engagement. I'll just fast forward I will exit from the discipline of shipping. I did about 14 or 15 years in shipping. I even opened my own ship insurance company as a correspondent, not to insure, but to do the same high-octane work. Because our company got sold to Maersk Lines, and I was not, they didn't have any claims correspondents out there. And I didn't want to join mainstream shipping because the work I was doing was more interesting. You don't know what will happen today in that kind of work scenario. You have to manage things on your feet. After that, I went into practice. I practiced a little bit, but I was also doing my correspondence work. And then started the journey of 2007-2008 post-election violence, and the coming in of the international mediation, and they formed several institutions as part of the Agenda 4. And I applied for one of the Agenda 4 commissions then. That was the Interim Independent Boundaries Review Commission. And we were tasked with the work of delimiting constituencies. And before the Constitution was passed, we had a slightly different criteria of what we had to do. And we were not given, for example, the number of constituencies. The parameters were given, but they had a slight differentiation before and after the promulgation of the Constitution. So we started working. We collected the necessary information from the public. We did the agenda. We unpackaged what our mandate would look like. It was a new constitution, so we had to establish structures. I was an integral part of those who were doing the structures. I was the only advocate or person with legal training in the Boundaries Commission. So I led, and we all did it in a collegiate manner, unpackaging and setting up of the structures. And it was a very short time frame to do the work, 1.5 years, very contentious. We are coming from a post-conflict society. Boundaries, we know they are very emotive. So we had to manage the issues around it. We dealt with politicians because on the ground they will be there. Each one wants to have a better edge from the other, or so they thought. But because of very aggressive public participation, very aggressive civic education, we were able to undertake our mandate. It had its ups and downs, yes. We finished our work right at the nick of the moment, and in between, going back, we transversed from the older constitution to the new constitution, so we had to redo quite a bit of work. For example, we couldn't do the wards anymore because that was not part of our initial mandate, and we had already done the civic and people participation on the ground. We couldn't do it again, so we proceeded with the delimitation of the constituencies. We were, with the new constitution coming in, we were to gazette our findings. We prepared, gazetted the findings, but then the findings were not gazetted. There were court cases at the eve of our mandate lapsing, which stopped us from proceeding anymore with it. And but we submitted our findings to Parliament, which was part of the requirement. After that, we exited. And our work as the Boundaries Commission was to do the boundary delimitation and to increase the additional constituencies, which were now from 210 to 290, along those parameters that were required. So we worked, we did that, we delimited, we gave the names to the boundaries, we gave the descriptions, but we had an issue around when we submitted the findings for publication. And the court cases came in between. The matter was then taken over by the new commission, which exited from the Independent Interim Election Commission. The new constitution now merged the two, as it were, but it was a brand new constitution with people who want to come in. They had to do fresh applications. So what we did was we exited, and it was taken up by the incoming, the current body, IEBC, and our work was validated. Because Parliament then gave instructions, and it's in the IEBC Act for the first delimitation, that they use what we have done as the source document, and they invited all comments about what was wrong with the delimitation from stakeholders. They made a report to the IEBC, and the IEBC was able to make adjustments. They were minimal in nature, And the report was returned to Parliament, and Parliament eventually gave recommendations, and IEBC gazetted those findings. So in terms of what I will bring to the Commission, in terms of what I want to apply, is this cumulative experience I've had in terms of developing systems and packaging the law, civic education, stakeholder participation, governance structures, and executing our mandate to the best of our ability. And working under extreme pressure, in terms of electoral experience, is the experience which I generated largely in the Boundaries Commission, which is part of the Electoral Commission's job. So these are the experiences that I've had, and what I bring on the table is proven work ethic and integrity, madam. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Murshid. Are you a registered voter?
Yes, madam, I am.
Okay. Where did you vote in the last general election?
I have always voted in Mombasa County, Mvita constituency. And my polling station is where we have the old law courts. Sometimes it is used as an appellate court.
Okay. Thank you so much, Murshid. I will now request Mr. Morris Kimuli to ask you a few questions.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Murshid.
Yes, please.
You are a lawyer.
Yes.
Is that the expertise that you bring to the Commission if successful?
Yes, I would bring my experience as a person who has graduated with law, and the experiences that I've had in my working life, both in the private sector as well as working in government sector.
Do you consider yourself to be a legal practitioner?
Not much, because I have done limited practice in between my other jobs which I have held. But I am grounded in the law. I've studied the law. I have a knack of issues around governance, merged with political science, of course.
Looking at your CV, sir,
yes,
I can see that you have indicated that from 2018 to date,
yes,
you have been working with Murshid A. Advocate.
Yes.
Is that so?
Murshid Abdallah Advocate is my name, and that is what I have previously practiced. I had shut my practice when I came in for the Boundaries Commission, because you are not allowed to practice.
Are you practicing law now? I
am not practicing law now, but what I do is I do consultancy work around the law. I put together governance issues if I'm given a job of that nature. And in my practice, I have largely done conveyancing and commercial matters. So I cannot say that I'm a person, for example, who's had prolific practice in the High Court or in any other court.
The Constitution states categorically the aspects of experience for those who seek the position of commissioner.
Yes.
Do you know the areas of experience?
Yes.
Which are they?
One of them is governance.
Yes.
Another one is law.
Yes.
Yes, and in any other field.
Which others?
Like I think in finance. Yes.
No, they are stated, sir, in the Constitution. Do you know the key ones that are stated in the Constitution expressly?
One of them is law, the other one is matters of finance, the other one is experience and matters of governance.
Only those?
I can remember those.
Only those?
I can remember those.
When you are applying for this job,
yes.
You didn't take some time and with some legal background to just look at the portions of the Constitution that deal with qualifications for the job you're applying for?
I did look, sir, but sometimes you have, when you are in a situation where you feel that you are coming under some kind of pressure, you tend to forget some of those issues. But of course, I did look at what qualifications are required, and I matched them with what I have, and I applied.
So, out of the ones that you have mentioned,
yes,
which is the skill and experience that you would bring?
Both in law and governance.
Both in law and
yes,
governance?
Both in law and governance, yes.
Now,
as well as public administration, sir.
As well as public administration. Now, this is not the first time you're interacting with the Commission. From your CV and from what you have stated, you have worked with the Commission, although differently constituted. But you also have worked with the National Police Service Commission.
Yes, indeed, I have.
From 2012
yes.
to 2018.
Correct.
And from 2018, apart from just being in your law firm, you've not done anything else major?
No, what I have done from 2018, you see, I must beg your pardon, I didn't give my specific experiences in the National Police Service Commission because the time...
no, that's okay. I understand.
So what I'm saying, after I did my National Police Service Commission, and we completed our job in 2018, in that commission, we worked on the basis that we will do 12 years work in 6 years, and I had to take time off in order now to spend more time with my family and more time with my own personal issues. And I did a lot of pro bono work in terms of consultancy. I was also instrumental in invigorating and putting back a consortium known as SEDMAC, that is Consortium for the Development of Marginalized Communities.
So that was when?
After I finished my National Police Service Commission.
That is after 2018?
After 2018, yes.
After 2018?
Yes. So I did that.
Now, what I'm interested in,
yes.
You have disclosed the things that you have done.
Yes.
I just want us to look at what you've attempted to do, because I believe that you come to this commission because you believe that you have something to offer.
Yes.
And if something else crops up tomorrow, you will not leave and believe that you have something better to offer to somebody else other than the commission. I believe that you want to stay.
Definitely.
If you are successful.
Definitely.
Now, after you served in the interim commission,
yes,
2009-2010, yes. You applied for the same job when it was advertised.
Yes, I did apply for the same job when it was when it became now the interim, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. And I do recall I applied to be a commissioner in that commission initially. I was not shortlisted as a commissioner,
despite what you had done.
Yes. I was not shortlisted.
Then you applied to be chair?
Then after a while, because the first round of the adverts for the chair did not return a good number of candidates, I applied for the chair of that commission, and I was shortlisted for the chair of the commission. And I attended the interview, but my brother Ishaq Hassan was fortunate to be so appointed. I remember I also had Madam Kokimuli with us for that same job, yes.
You were actually recommended. Were you recommended for appointment?
I believe I was, yes.
Now, in 2016,
yes,
did you also apply again to join the commission?
2016?
Yes.
I applied.
You applied?
Yes, I did. I did apply.
You were not successful?
I shouldn't have applied because I was already a state officer.
Now, this is where I was coming.
Yes.
By the time you applied in 2016 to join the Electoral Commission,
yes,
this country had given you a job in an independent commission, the National Police Service Commission.
Yes.
You were actually serving a 6-year term.
Right.
And you had 2 years to go.
Yes.
And with 2 years to go in the National Police Service Commission, you presented an application to join another independent commission, the Electoral Service.
Yes.
Did you intend to bail out of the National Police Service Commission?
You see, I have a specific knack and attraction for the Election Commission. Inasmuch as I was working in the National Police Service Commission, I had already done 4 years of that commission, And because I had previously applied for that.
You felt that you were better suited to the Electoral Commission?
Not even better suited. I had done quite a bit of work in the Police Service Commission, and most of the work, in my view, at that time, was concluded.
Was concluded. Fair enough. Somebody else will pick up that.
Yes.
But you didn't resign.
Yes.
To say, I have done enough.
Yes.
I need to leave the National Police Service.
Right.
When you were not successful to join the Electoral Commission in 2016,
yes,
you continued to serve the National Police Service for 2 years,
yes,
earning public money, despite your inner feeling that your work had been done.
I was very committed to the National Police Service Commission. The question of me having now gone to the IEBC is a moot point because I didn't go there. And I served with the best of my ability.
People stopped you from joining. You didn't stop yourself.
No,
you applied. Those who are selecting,
yes,
did not select you.
They didn't.
Had they selected you, you would have left the National Police Service Commission.
Yes, I would have resigned and joined the Election Commission.
Okay. You say that your key experience and interest was in electoral matters.
Yes.
Please confirm, in 2020,
yes,
you made an application to join the Data Commission.
Yes.
Now, the Data Commission is not Electoral Commission.
It is not the Electoral Commission.
You were not successful.
The thing was, the Data Commission job was available. The Data Commission job is also a key commission. The Electoral Commission job was not advertised, but if the two were advertised together, I would have applied for the national, the IEBC.
Now, just confirm, sir,
yes,
that around the same time, you also applied to join another independent commission.
Correct.
That is the National Lands Commission?
Yes, I did.
And you applied because a job was available with the National Lands Commission?
That is true.
And now that the IEBC has advertised, you feel that now your time has also come.
You see, if I don't get the IEBC job, and there is another advert for another commission job or any other state job, I would apply for it. Because first of all, also working is a means of earning a livelihood. And if you look at the common trend with all my applications, the applications at jobs whereby you perform a key duty in matters around governance and the prosperity of the republic. Do
you believe, I understand, yes, that, do you believe that your law firm,
yes,
can serve this country?
You see, it's a completely different issue when you're working for a state office and you're working for a private firm. Not only that, like I said, I had already, in my working and my passion for public service, I had already lost a number of years of practice, and my clients had all gone.
That's okay, I get your answer.
Yes.
Just confirm yet again,
yes,
that in 2019, yes, immediately after leaving the National Police Service Commission,
yes,
you applied to be a judge of the Court of Appeal.
I did.
You were interviewed publicly.
Interviewed. Yes.
You were not successful.
I was not successful.
So you agree that you have been, pardon me for this,
yes,
but you've been all over.
I've not been all over.
You've not been all over.
I have been applying.
That's okay.
For
now I get
available
you.
Jobs.
Let me not press you on that.
Yes.
Then independent commissions. Do you understand the reason why we have term limits in our constitution for elected officers? For example, the presidency.
Yes.
You can't go for more than 2 terms.
Definitely.
The office of the governor.
Yes.
Why do we have term limits?
You have term limits so that, for example, for the president, so that when the time comes, the voters are able to change and to look at whether the office bearer is able to take the aspirations of those who are voting him to the next level. And I would like to demarcate between office terms of political offices like the president from those which are obtainable under the Constitution for constitutional offices.
Why do you think the Constitution says if you have served as a commissioner with an independent commission, you cannot be reappointed after 6 years?
That is not what the Constitution says.
The Constitution says you serve for a term of 6 years, yes, and you shall not be amenable to reappointment.
Of the same institution?
Yes.
Not of any.
Why do you think you are barred from reappointment of the same institution? You may have a lot of experience, yes, you may have a lot to offer. Why are you barred?
But with respect, I am not applying.
No. I'm just
for
asking, you are a
commission.
lawyer.
Yes.
Why are you barred from going for a second term of 6 years for independent constitutional commissions?
For the same commission,
Why?
you are barred.
Why?
So that a fresh set of minds can come in and take the commission to the next level. Because 6 years is enough for you to have done what you would have done, and you need to change focus for the next one. But that applies for the same commission. There
But
is
you have
no bar for you to be appointed in another commission.
You have indicated, sir, that your orientation is towards these entities that serve almost a common purpose,
Yes.
the commissions, and you've applied to a lot of them. You've applied to the judiciary. Don't you believe that when you have sat for 6 years
Yes.
in a commission,
Yes.
you ought not to, if you can't join one commission, you
Yes.
shouldn't join another?
I don't believe that.
You don't believe that?
Because that is a personal choice. It is
That's all
not.
right.
It is not a constitutional requirement or bar.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. So, while you are at IEBC, you say that you were the interim.
In the IIBRC.
Yes.
Yes.
You said that you were dealing with boundaries.
Yes.
If my recollection serves me well, you also dealt with boundaries of districts and administrative units.
Yes, that was the initial parameter before the kicking in of the new constitution. When the new constitution came, we just crossed over after a few months. When it came in, and the Article 89 now removed that administrative boundaries, and it became wards. Now, wards are different from administrative boundaries.
Wards are different. Who now determines the boundaries of districts?
The districts are the preserve of the office of the president. Yeah, for them to do the
Is it
administrative.
the office of the president that determines the boundaries of districts?
Indeed, it is, and parliament. Yeah, because the last act was the districts and boundaries.
That's okay.
Act.
Our light has gone on. Let me just ask you one question.
Yes.
Do you understand the regime of law that governs electoral offences?
Yes.
Which law?
The Electoral Offences Act.
The Electoral Offences Act.
Yes.
There was one famous case. It was in the media, the Moses Wetangula case.
Yes.
Do you know the electoral offences that were identified in that case?
I cannot recollect the electoral offences, but electoral offences would include violence.
I'm just asking about, because this is a principle. You understand that if you go to the commission, you might as well be asked to be in charge of the dispute resolution sector.
Definitely.
And you need to be ready as a lawyer
Yes, as a
to
lawyer.
handle electoral disputes.
Correct.
So you don't know what happened in the Moses Wetangula case with respect to electoral offences?
At that time, with respect, you will be having the manuals with you, the election law with you, all the regulations with you, and you'll be able to effectively apply all the parameters with a lot of jurisprudence behind it.
That's okay. So in your view, we have a very huge task as members of this panel.
Yes.
Do you think we should select somebody who is ready or somebody who is going to get ready once they get to the commission?
I believe I'm ready and I can hit the ground running. I have the necessary experience. I have the knowledge. I have the training.
That's all right.
So other than thinking that it is now a disadvantage that I've been in one or two other commissions, I think it is a plus point, because once you get into the commission, you are seized of the issues immediately and you can run with it.
That's all right. And
Thank you.
all the best, sir. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kimuli. I'll now request Dr. F.S. Abdallah to ask you a few questions, Mushid.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mushid, mine will not be questions because I think my fellow panelists here, I can see the exchanges on the laws. And straight to the point, do you think the way you pride yourself of the experience and the abilities that you'll be able to bring something new for the betterment of IEBC to IEBC?
Yes, I would.
And what will that be?
For instance, you would be able to interrogate the governance structures that are available in the IEBC, see where the gaps are, and that is the internal strength of the Commission. Participate in seeing from the last elections, from court cases that have been that have come out, to see exactly what ails the IEBC. There are issues around the problems around the way elections have been managed. There are issues around the way the Commission is supposed to conduct itself. There are issues around trying to make sure that the Commission has good demarcation between the Commissioner's role and the role of the Secretariat. There is an issue of trying to strengthen the code of conduct of the Commission. Issues around improving the image of the Commission so that people repose public faith and confidence into the Commission. So a lot of governance work needs to be done. A lot has been done, but you can be part of that strengthening, part of reaching out to stakeholder engagement, and part of making sure that faith and confidence is reposed back into our electoral processes. Those are some of the things that I can bring to the Commission.
Right, thank you, Murshid. Now, if I've heard you also of your 15 years experience where your job was, as you say, taxing and very demanding, that of course you had to do a lot of monitoring on day-to-day basis with different institutions like APA, the Port Police and all that.
Yes.
Now, with that 15 years experience, what measures will you adopt to ensure the prompt monitoring of implementation of the Commission policies and programs?
Yes.
Am I clear? You heard me well?
You are, let me rephrase it.
Okay.
Yes.
You've had 15 years in the shipping industries, and one of the responsibility you had,
yes,
whether continuous or at the time, was a day-to-day communication and monitoring of the vessels or any other stowaways and all that, right?
Yes.
So I'm saying, using that experience, right, what measures will you adopt to ensure the prompt monitoring of implementation of Commission policies and programs?
Yes, okay.
What would you do?
Yeah, thank you. So that is part of what we'll say of doing effective and proper governance structures. What is required to be done is to look at the overall objective of the Commission, what the Commission sets out to achieve, and all of these are going to be laid out in your strategic plan, where you have your mission and you have your specific things that ought to be done, and they have to be aligned with the electoral cycle. So there will be a fleshing out of exactly what needs to be done within what timelines, and on what basis are you to proceed. And you need to have a monitoring and evaluation framework where you always look at what has been done so far, within what time limit, are we able to deliver on the key objectives, and if we have not been able to deliver, we'll be able to unpackage why, and to do remedial measures in order to stay on the right course on monitoring and evaluation. That becomes a very critical component of what the Commission needs to do.
Thank you. Now, for sure, as much as you pride yourself for some achievement in these several commissions and whatever you worked with.
Yes.
Everyone makes a mistake.
Yes.
Right? And many a time experience is the name everyone gives as correction tool to the mistakes.
Yes.
Right. Now, we are aware that there are various factors that contribute to mistakes occurring, such as people involvement, technical provision, organizational elements, outside influence, and many other things, right? Now, given this opportunity, where you come across where it is, it's in the public domain that the political influence or attempts to infiltrate the IEBC through a commissioner is a risk that past commissions have faced.
Yes.
What can the commission do to mitigate this risk? And what will you do? Are you a team player?
Indeed, I am.
You are?
Yes, I am.
Please tell us how. First, how will you handle the situation?
First of all, in terms of political pressure and interferences with the independence of the commission, there will always be attempts to encroach on such independence. But the first thing that we must all realize as I sit in the commission is that the commission is a constitutional body to begin with. And it has been entrenched and given the powers of being independent, meaning that the commission and the commissioners should not be influenced or take any orders from anybody or authority. So given from that basis that you have that independence and you are kept there to guard the sovereignty of the people, you have already the steel that you need in order to remain independent. Independence of the constitution of the commission is also guaranteed because we have a guaranteed source of funding for the commission. So if there is any kind of political pressure or interference, that cannot be allowed. I will not allow it. I have never been influenced by political actors or extraneous issues or any person as I was serving in the commissions, and in particular of such a body as the National Police Service in terms of governance and entrenchment of power was concerned. I, as a person, and collectively, we were able to fend off. And the way you will fend off any interferences is for you to have proper structures within the commission. You have a code of conduct. Not only that, you look for how you enforce the code of conduct so that if there is any interference, be it through bribery, be it through any other mechanisms, it's easy to detect it, and there are parameters with which you can enforce any member of the staff, any commissioner, including myself. Not only that, once you get influenced by outside actors, any member of the public can move to Parliament and specify the areas where you have gone against the Constitution. And consequences will follow, which, if that is proved, the president may be able to put up a tribunal and you can be removed from office. So there are a number of ways in which you can overcome the issues of influence. First of all, you have the mandate, you have the protection, even though sometimes people feel that if you cannot be removed from office. It's a license to do whatever you want, including practices that are unconstitutional. But I look at it personally from the point of view that I am given the ability of doing what is required of me according to the law, and because of that, I may not be removed from office because I was discharging my functions for the objects of the Constitution.
Thank you, Murshid. But you know you'll be one among the 7.
Yes, I will be one.
Now, my next question is, in the event you have a different opinion, you just said you're a team player.
Yes.
What would you do to convince them that you think you are right?
The difference of opinion can come in many dimensions. It could be a difference of opinion because of the way you would like to handle a matter, and there are personal issues or personality issues. I don't fall definitely within that bracket. But if the difference of opinion is about how you conduct your work and how you must remain in fidelity with the law and the Constitution, then you can be firm on that difference of opinion and you will not budge from it. Because if you do so, you are throwing away the very purpose of why the commission was instituted in the first place. So for all the right things, for all the rules and regulations that we have, you can have a collegiate kind of relationship, but where you have problems in terms of your fellow commissioners, one or two or even more, want to do anything that goes against the constitutional requirements, that can be misconstrued that you are not a team player. But you have to stand alone, because our responsibility is both individual and collegiate.
Thank you, Murshid, and all the best. Eid Mubarak.
Eid Mubarak. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abdallah. I'll now request Mr. Solonka to ask you a few questions.
Thank you.
Mr. Abdallah, now, Article 38(3)(b) prescribes how voting is conducted in Kenya, and this is by secret ballot. Okay?
Yes.
But if you look at Article 86A of the Constitution, it provides that at every election, the IEBC shall ensure that whatever voting method is used,
Yes.
the system is simple, accurate, verifiable, secure, blah, blah. Now, what are these other voting methods available?
Voting methods available, if you can come again, that your vote must be by secret ballot.
Yeah, 38 says it has to be by secret ballot.
Yes.
But you go to 86,
Yes.
it talks of IEBC can use whatever voting methods
Yes.
it may choose.
Yes.
But in so doing,
Yes.
the system must be simple, accurate, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
So what are these other voting methods?
You see, there is only one voting method which is contemplated under our Constitution, and that is the vote must be by secret ballot. If we are talking about that the vote, the method that you are going to use is that it has to be transparent, it has to be understood by everyone, it has to be in a manner that is inclusive, and that shows the principles of which the secret ballot ought to be done. But for example, the way I understood your question is that you cannot, for example, adopt mechanisms like you are saying, Amlolongo. But again, when we speak of voting is by secret ballot, the Constitution envisages a time where you can use technology to facilitate voting.
Okay.
But even when that is used, the same principles would apply.
Okay, thank you. Now, and how does the law protect the secrecy of the vote?
Yes.
With respect to a person with disabilities and assisted voters?
Okay.
I'll appreciate if you tell us which law
Yes.
addresses that issue, and
Yes.
then take us through how it happens.
Yes. Again, Article 38 itself makes it obligatory for the IEBC to adopt an electoral mechanism that is inclusive. And by inclusive, it will mean there are certain disadvantaged segments of our society. And in this specific question is persons with disabilities. The disability can be physical disability. You cannot move, you cannot access, for some reason, the voting centers, which again will be an indictment of the IEBC in the first place. You have people who cannot see, and you have to make sure that you can facilitate that voting. When you have that, when you have persons with disabilities, which is the question, and they are unable to exercise because the ballot paper is such, if you cannot see, you cannot know how to put, where to put your cross and what are the procedures to be done. So you can use a relative, a friend to assist you to do that one. And the secrecy of the ballot is confirmed because anyone who assists the voter must sign an oath that whatever the choices the person made, you will not be able to reveal them. Yes, that is how you are supposed to do it. And if you don't have a person, you don't have a friend, then the presiding officer can do that in the presence of the agents. But again, they are already under oath, so they will not be able to let out how that person actually voted.
Okay, thank you. And Let's move to the next one. What is the role of a constituency returning officer in an election?
Yes, the role of the constituency returning officer in election is to receive the results from the presiding officer in the polling stations, to make sure that they collect and then they further transfer the result. If it is an election which is not for the president, it is for persons who are elected from that county, they are also going to give the results of that one. So their job is collecting, tabulating, and transmission of the votes where appropriate. He is also the person who will become the custodian of the electoral materials which have been yielded to him from the presiding officer after the count has been made, and the ballot materials and all electoral materials have been sealed. So he is also the custodian of those materials.
Okay, thank you. Can you define for me this electoral term? What is an election court?
An election court is a court designated by the Chief Justice to handle matters of post-electoral disputes. So that becomes what is known as the electoral court. It is part of the judiciary. If you are looking at disputes for the MCA elections, it becomes the Chief Magistrate's Court. If it is election disputes of the other candidates, notably the MP and Member of Parliament, both houses, that becomes the High Court. And then the other court is the Supreme Court for any disputes, post-election disputes pertaining to the president's election. So an election court is one where it can be designated as such, and usually it is around elections period, so that you can expedite court matters which come from petitions, because there are specific timelines which must be adhered to for that dispute to be resolved.
So which article gives the Supreme Court that power to exercise?
So I cannot recollect, but it will be under the chapter of the judiciary.
The chapter of the judiciary?
Yes.
Which one is this?
Chapter... unless I check, sorry.
Okay, what about the High Court?
What about the High Court? Come again, please.
Yes, where does it derive its jurisdiction? Under what law? Under what?
It derives its jurisdiction under the judiciary chapter.
Judiciary chapter? Which is
Yes.
this judiciary chapter?
You know, I cannot recollect it offhand,
Okay.
but again, the High Court and all the other courts, they derive their power under the Constitution as early as Article 1, sovereignty of the people, which is to be exercised through institutions, and for dispute resolution, it will be the judiciary.
And you are saying it is the Chief Justice who gives them that...
the designation of election courts.
Yes.
Yes.
It's the Chief Justice.
I'm not very sure on that specific.
You're not sure?
Yes.
Okay. What is an electoral area?
An electoral area is the area where elections are going to be done. For example, the electoral area for I'm not with that one. Sorry.
You're not?
Yes.
There are three of them.
Is it if that is the case, then we are looking at the ward, we are looking at the constituency. The ward is the constituency is an electoral area for that purpose, and then we have the entire county as an electoral area, and then the national the entire nation for the president.
Thank you, Mr. Abdallah. I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gideon Solonka. I'll now request Madam Elizabeth Mayo to ask you a few questions.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Abdallah, I'd like to refer to your case study.
Yes.
Which actually you took on 30th. You identified lack of sufficient voter education
Yes.
as one of the key issues which was raised in the case study.
Yes.
And you have given us 2 key strategies you'll put in place to address that. One of the strategies is collaboration with various stakeholders. You didn't tell us which stakeholders, you just said various, which is okay. Then you talked of curriculum development.
Yes.
I'm right?
Yes.
Okay. I want you to 2017.
Yes.
Yeah, in 2017, the IEBC recruited 2,900 voter educators as well as 47 county and 290 constituency-based educators to implement its voter education program.
Yes.
So voter educators were expected to cover large geographical areas, but were not consistently provided with travel stipends.
Yes.
I hope you are getting me.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
And to pay for their transportation costs.
Yes.
Noting that you have committed from your case study that you are going to carry out voter education despite these challenges,
Yes.
what innovative ways are you going to put in place to achieve this?
Thank you, madam. When I spoke of having various stakeholders, it means you have to collaborate with both state institutions as well as non-state institutions, which will mean the civil society organizations, faith-based organizations, and any other organization which is projecting itself that it has the necessary experience to do voter education. And since the question was largely on the issue of finance, there will never be a time that the state, the government, can be able to fully finance many of its operations, but in particular when it is voter education. Now, civic education, or we can say voter education, across various commissions, not only confined to the Election Commission, usually has scarcity of funding. You may be able to project that across the electoral cycle, voter education is required because voters need to know all the different components that may prepare that voter to actively and effectively engage in the process. And that requires a lot of resources to implement. 2 problems with it is that you would make your budget, you will submit it to the appropriate committee, and there is capping or slashing because there is a lot of other functions which government requires funding for. And there is this tendency of thinking that just interacting with people and giving information, this is not really core. And that is basically one of our major weaknesses in our electoral processes, lack of that civic and voter education. For you to overcome that one, what you need to do as a commission is to start having a framework of stakeholder engagement. Try to generate synergies between the commission and all these good actors out there who, because of what they projected to do, largely matters of governance, they have funding from whatever sources that they have the funding. But then you have to control that process by having certain parameters in place. For example, you must know whether indeed they have the capacity of doing that. Those organizations, were they actually registered with one of their purposes to provide that education? You must have the policy and generate the curriculum. So you do curriculum development so that you can ring fence what is going to be done. You need to do monitoring evaluation by making sure that they report back to you as to what have they been able to cover and what is the feedback. For example, you take specific care in vetting them. Are they fronts of candidates? Are they fronts of political parties? Or are they really independent? So you do the quality control, you ring fence it with curriculum, you have a code of conduct so that you bind them, and you have an effective monitoring and evaluation mechanisms within the Commission, and when I say within the Commission, including those that have been appointed by the Commission to do the civic education, the points persons of the Commission. So they'll be able to monitor and see if the messages are going correct. So you overcome the issues of scarcity of funding and personnel, because there will never be enough personnel even from the Commission to undertake this job. The other thing is you do innovative measures. You use more, you can use more of the electronic media. You can use the new media, that is how to get your message out through mass SMSs. Now we have other things like social media, which can be done, but it has to be controlled within specific parameters so that the messages can go out effectively. You can embark on caravans where you can sensitize persons where there is no network coverage, because not everyone, it is very romantic to think that I will use my social media, but it means we are only thinking of urban centers where the vast part of the country and where they need to know more about voting and engaging would be those underprivileged sections of our republic, and they're quite vast. Okay, so a combination of such measures will enable you to overcome your frailties in terms of money to finance the voter education program.
Thank you. In your view, Mr. Mushid, do you think the media also plays a role in what you actually plan to do?
Yes, media plays a role, because media itself is one of the largest communication network. We have state media, our KBC. We have private media. But then you can have a robust engagement, and that was part of the stakeholder story. I forgot about them, where you can engage with the Media Council and the owners of the media in order to explain the needs, requirements of the Commission, the importance of getting the right messages out, the importance of appropriating sufficient time for all actors also to explain their policies. Media, yes, it does have a critical part to play in voter education, as it were, and even more than voter education, civic education. Okay. And the issue of voter education, even as we move forward, we need to change a slight paradigm shift. It is not just enough to do voter education, meaning to habituate citizens on our voting process. It is also important for them to understand in the first place, why are we voting? Why are we having conflict around voting time? What kind of engagements do we want to have for our republic, so that they are seized with governance structures, they are seized with the idea of how do you choose the right policies, how do you get away from the normal lines which were given by political parties and politicians, and to build a vibrant democracy.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mushid. How, in your view, do you deal with the issue of misreporting? And how do you ensure that you keep peace when there is tension during the election process? Yeah.
In terms of ensuring that the right content goes out, you're coming back to stakeholder engagement. And if we are talking about the media, we engage with media. We engage with those who are in charge of editorial content. We have some training workshops for them as to what the Commission is supposed to do. What are the things that are the do's and the don'ts? What are the things that can offset our electoral processes, to take care of issues like hate speech, and how the media has to be alive, not to give undue coverage for persons who are going to do hate speech, whether it is through their print media, but more often through the internet media, where news is almost immediate. But again, in terms of dealing with media, we need to have a multi-agency approach. We do have the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. which is charged with the matters of controlling issues that are hate speech, issues that are of disinformation, and that disinformation could even be carrying rumors about who would have won, who should have won, because at that time when we are having on the election day, there is a lot of tension and a lot of stress, and even that was marked to be one of the reasons why we started having heightened tension. But the elephant in the house definitely is hate speech.
Hate speech.
Yes.
So in your view, one of the challenges identified by IEBC to be causing problems is voter bribery.
Yes.
So in your view, how would you deal with voter bribery, and what do you think is the main cause?
You see, let me start with the main cause of voter bribery. The main cause of voter bribery is the way in which our principal vehicles to deliver democracy, being the political parties. Political parties, if they are not based on democratic principles, if political parties don't carry out regular elections within themselves, they don't have enough and effective and good governance structures. Political parties, if we are going to do ethnic mobilization around political parties, if we have our politics of ethnicity, what is going to happen is, and if we don't have enough civic education, civic engagement, and voter education, we have a vulnerable populace where already we have a problem in terms of unemployment and poverty. You will have an easy way out for those who may want to seek public offices. And it is not only confined to the elections itself, but even in nominations, where you'll have that instead of me selling my policies, instead of selling an agenda, instead of taking that painful path towards general democratization of the country, it is so much easier just to offer bribes. And those bribes can even be direct money offering, or it can be providing transport and food and other promises that if you vote for me, you are going to sit in the executive committee of the county. So it's an easy way for all of us who don't want to invest in policies, in governance structures, and in ensuring that we walk the hard road towards overall democratization of our processes. It's an easy way out. Bribe, you will get what you want, and you will go into office. Once you enter office, you know what you will do.
Okay.
You will not be working for the electorate. You'll be working for vested interests.
Thank you, Mr. Mushid. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. I'll now request the Vice Chair to ask you a few questions.
Yeah, Mr. Murshid, you mentioned that you are involved in the development of Agenda 4. Do you think that the issues that led to the formulation of this agenda have been resolved, especially those touching on our electoral democracy? Or are we still where we were in 2008?
Yes. Now, see, sir, in 2007 and 2008, the country almost broke. That is common knowledge. And the underlying reasons of that was our politics are based on ethnic lines. We are doing mobilization around ethnicity. It is not helped by the fact that once you got into office, you are able to have policies that may be skewed towards certain regions, towards certain interests. When you have politicians who have gained access into parliament, they become under how the party requires them to be ordered. We had issues around the way our governance structures were wired, because one of the major issues which I'll be speaking on in answering this question is We have not decolonized our state. All our systems are still remnants of the colonial system. The game changer came in the 2010 Constitution, where now we have an instrument which can take us away from colonization or colonial principles, where we have certain values and aspirations and principles of equity, of inclusivity. Even the way we are supposed to make our parties, they should not be parties that are geared on regionalism and even on interests which are ethnic in character. It has been a difficult journey because the Constitution needs to be implemented. The implementers, most of them, in any chapter of the Constitution, Parliament shall do the necessary legislation to give actualization to what has been kept there. Unfortunately, it has not been an easy process. Like I said, the colonized state still exists. And in order to walk the long route, we needed to have a parliament that was more responsive to bringing out pieces of legislation which are going to give birth to the spirit and the word of the Constitution. I'm not saying that Parliament has not been doing that. It has been. And we have all these other institutions which are in place. The National Police Service Commission, in order to overcome the problems the service faced at the time of the 07 elections, so that we have a more accountable police force, we have independent command, we have the NCIC, we have the entire Chapter 15 commissions are all rooted, including the land injustices. Now, the manner in which we have been able to put our legislation and to put in place critical offices that were supposed to implement that, we have been running short of the spirit and the word of the Constitution. So we do have tensions which are there. We do have hate speech which is going on. We do have heightened expectations in place. We do have a populace which has become poorer, and that is also because of many other issues, the COVID pandemic being one of them. So we have a situation whereby we need to reactivate and reboot our independent institutions, and all the independent institutions also have to find ways and means of working with state organs concerned in order to formulate a proper working environment towards democratization of our republic. So if we become a joint effort, we do our civic education well. Part of it is voter education. If every one of us is able to do its part, the political parties do their part, those in charge of supervising the political parties, which means the director, the office of the director of political parties does its work, make sure that we do have proper governance structures, we do a lot of participation of the people. If Parliament does its work to churn out proper legislation, look at us today. We are going into an election in under 12 months now, or almost 12 months. We still have pieces of legislation which are critical, like the Campaign Finance Act. It's there. Part of the problems around the referendum, we need to have a referendum bill and an act. So that is yet to be done. Proper doing of the acts of Parliament, a sense of patriotism with what we do, a sense of integrity which is both personal and institutional, proper governance structure, and making sure that all those who go against the grain of the law, the grain of the Constitution, and especially constitutional offices, which are given the necessary powers to enforce what they have to enforce. If we all resolve to do our work and make sure that we are not affected by partisan interest, by ethnic interest, by regional interest, definitely we are going to have a much better electoral process, and will deliver democracy for this republic.
Thank you. That's for the long term.
Yes.
Now, as you mentioned, we only have a few months to
Yes.
a major election next year.
Yes.
Assuming you're on the commission,
Yes.
how do you see the commission dealing with these things, these issues you raise?
Yes.
And what role would you play? Because
Yes.
we have all those issues. We only
Yes.
have a few months.
Yes.
And yet,
yes.
Kenyans expect
Yes.
their vote to count.
Yes.
How do we handle that?
So, insofar as our electoral processes are concerned, but more particularly insofar as the Election Commission is concerned, we have the acts in place, we have the regulations in place, we have the policies in place. I'm not trying to say that I'm going to walk into the commission and bring new things that are required, maybe a few of them. But what is more important is how are we doing our work in accordance with the Constitution, which gave birth to the laws, which gave birth to the regulations that we have made. Have we done enough? Do we have, for instance, are we able to enforce those regulations or violations of those regulations or the code? So we may want to start with the commission itself and start cleaning house. For example, do we have the necessary personnel to take on the requirements and the rigors of the next elections? You will start with looking at your structures. Do you have your CEO? Is the CEO, we still have an acting CEO. Why is that the case? So we recruit a CEO, make sure in that recruitment so that we don't go to where they were countermanded by the court. Make sure that it is done in accordance with the law, transparently, with integrity. We do have, for example, an acting assistant CEO, deputy CEO, and we don't have one deputy CEO. There are so many gaps in the structures that are there. So we look at that first of all. We make sure that it is well populated. We make sure that personnel are well trained. We make sure that we do all the things that are required in the electoral cycle that is remaining. And if there were weaknesses before, we will try to do a quick fix. So we need to do voter education. We need to make sure that we do have sufficient money. There is no reason why the monies should get delayed by Treasury. You need to engage, stakeholder engagement. You need to be transparent about it. If you feel that that engagement is taking too much of a time, you have to come out and tell all the stakeholders, where are we? Inform stakeholders that we suffer from certain weaknesses, and you'll suddenly find that people are getting together, including the stakeholders, state stakeholders, in order to make sure that your needs and requirements are done. So it's about working to make sure that the governance structures that you have put in place are activated and put in place, and you monitor and make sure that what is there for the electoral cycle is fulfilled according to the timelines. Public participation becomes critical. So you participate, stakeholder engagement, engage with the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties, engage with NCIC, engage with Treasury, engage with parliamentary committees, which are supposed to bring in the new laws, because we must have the laws, according to Kriegler, in good time, because otherwise it will delay certain critical processes in the electoral cycle. So if we don't engage and we go on a flying start going forward, because the commission has been working with very few commissioners, it's not fully constituted, in the sense that several and critical areas of functioning of the commission has become strained. So you come in, and with the experiences that I've had, not only in working in commissions, but even working in a commission that starts from its very foundation. So that is what I'll be able to bring in: stakeholder engagement, working with the law, and always leaning on the law.
Thank you for that. Now, this is a scenario, just a scenario I'm painting. You are in charge as a commission now, supposing you're appointed.
Yes.
And you're responsible for elections in a certain region.
Yes.
As a commissioner. And you have a number of staff below you, working below you, IEBC staff.
Yes.
In the field. And the staff rebel against you.
Yes.
Because of your attitude,
yes,
or leadership style.
Yes.
What would you do?
You see, in that scenario, to begin with, you must have come from somewhere for you to carry that attitude. So, to begin with, if you have an attitude which does not bring everyone together, if you have an authoritarian attitude, if you have an attitude that does not give proper vision, proper training to your staff members, that rebellion is what you should expect. So number one, first of all, because the scenario is you're already at it, I would like to go back to a situation whereby with proper orientation in the first place, with proper training in the first place, you ought not to be in that scenario. It is a strange scenario for me because I have never participated in any of my workings before to get staff rebelling against me or challenging my authority, because you have always worked in a manner that you're taking their issues on board. You are respecting yourself and you respect other people, including your workers. You are properly oriented. You have trained them on the vision. They own the work of the commission. So saying that it will be a strange scenario to find me in, but even as you are in that scenario, you need to have a sit down and discuss what are the issues which are being raised. Some of those issues be raised may be valid, which you have to retrospect and change, or some of the issues may be because of lack of understanding between one another of the job which you have in place. I believe that it is good if you have a very good working relationship. But I also believe that you may not have everybody loving you or liking you. That is normal. But
Thank you.
You put the work in front and you continue working. Keep egos aside.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair. I'll now request Reverend Father Mutie to ask you a few questions, Mushid.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Mushid, allow me to take you back to an earlier discourse that you had with one of our panelists. You said, what informed you to do an application?
Father, I can't hear you clearly.
Chair, if you allow me to remove the mask.
So, sorry for that, Father.
Sir, I'm just doing a follow-up question.
Yes.
From where my brother, a fellow panelist, Mr. Kimuli, left. You said, what informed your choice to apply for a commission when you were still a commissioner?
You see, from the Police Service Commission, I got this idea that I have done policies around the commission. I have done regulations around the commission. Almost all that what needs to be done is there. But then here comes the Election Commission. You look at the Election Commission and you look at what the Election Commission has put us through before, successive Election Commission.